Welcome to the Morning Edition Extra. I'm Adelmi Ruiz, coming to you from Alaska's News Source's digital desk. Thank you so much for starting off your morning with Alaska's News Source this Tuesday morning. Starting us off, we have meteorologist Aaron Morrison, who's going to give us a breakdown over what our days are going to look like as the week progresses. Aaron?
Thanks, Adelmi. We do have numerous areas across the state which remain up under some form of a weather alert. We've got blizzard warnings. You head out towards the Bering Strait and Bristol Bay, where we could see gusts up to about 60 miles per hour and some snow accumulation. And then winter storm warnings as you head through parts of the Kuskokwim Delta and then northern parts of Bristol Bay, where we could see the potential for up to a foot of snow accumulation. Meanwhile, across the rest of the state, we've got extreme cold warnings as you head along the slope and through the Brooks Range, where we could see wind chills as low as about 70 below, while areas of South Central as well as the Pribilofs and parts of the Alaska Range remain up under winter weather advisory. So a lot going on across the state today and into our Wednesday, and you can see those alerts popped up on the state as a whole. You can see most of the impacts across western Alaska, and then as you head along the slope, we're seeing that extreme cold warning remaining in place. There's our area of low pressure as you head just north of the western Aleutians, approaching the Pribilofs this morning, where we are going to see some increasing winds. Winds have already been gusting upwards of about 65 miles per hour with this storm system so far this morning. And you can see winds through Bethel as well as Nome already gusting about 30 to 40 miles per hour. And this is leading to some blowing snow and some reduced visibility. You can see viewing opportunities in Bethel this morning greatly reduced due to that blowing snow and some increasing snow that we will see throughout the day. Now, the first half of the day will be quiet in terms of that precipitation, but the snow does arrive throughout the afternoon and the evening hours. 2 degrees is where we're currently sitting at. You can see that snow steadily building in throughout the rest of today and into the evening hours. We'll also see that snow increasing across South Central throughout the day, where we could see several inches of snow accumulation through the Susitna Valley, parts of the Kenai, Thompson Pass, as well as Turnagain Pass, where we could pick up several inches of that snow accumulation. The system will also build into southeast, where we also got some winter weather advisories in effect for parts of the northern panhandle. So this storm system set to bring gusty conditions. We've got some high winds out towards parts of southeast. Well, we've also got several areas of the panhandle up under wind advisory. So very active weather staying with us for the foreseeable future. You can see through the rest of this week beyond tomorrow, we'll keep at least some isolated to scattered snow showers around in the forecast. And we'll see heavy snowfall activity through western and southwest Alaska, as well as through parts of South Central. You can expect to see several inches of that snow accumulation. Now, double-digit values look possible through parts of Bristol Bay as you head through the Susitna Valley, Thompson Pass, as well as Turnagain Pass. That's where we have that potential for seeing double-digit values. Elsewhere across western, southwest Alaska and through South Central, we'll see a couple to several inches of snow accumulation. Anchorage may end the day and into tomorrow with about 3 to 5 inches of snow accumulation. Our model runs really keying in on that potential for about 3 to 5 inches, which does look promising for Anchorage. Meanwhile, we'll see those temperatures topping out near freezing into our Wednesday with that snow tapering off. We will see some isolated scattered snow showers throughout the rest of the week. Valentine's Day, a high of 25, dropping to 20 for your President's Day and even through the interior. While we will see cold conditions today, we break back above zero through the rest of the week. Although overnight lows still remain cold, dropping anywhere from about 10 to 20 below. You can see snow likely for Valentine's Day with a high of 12. Delmy?
All right, thank you, Aaron. And school consolidation could be coming to Anchorage. The meeting comes as ASD looks to fill a large budget gap, and Joe Allgood was on scene and reports the school board approved a measure to, quote, expeditiously identify school consolidation to further limit their $90 million deficit. And here's what that would look like. The district is directed to look at school consolidations that is already proposed. This would include closures of Fire Lake and Lake Otis elementary schools. It could also mean consolidating extracurricular programs or leasing owned facilities to raise funds. Regardless, plenty of people showed up to testify for over 2 hours. Let me see why this is not loading.
The idea of cutting middle school sports is absurd.
It is still an unjust and Please find a way to keep sports alive in Anchorage.
Please help protect this program for current and future student athletes, because volleyball isn't just a sport to us, it's home.
Without wrestling, me and my parents are going to leave ASD.
The idea of cutting middle school sports is absurd.
It is still an unjust and not right choice to close Lake Otis or Fire Lake.
These cuts, applied as forecast, will break our little school.
Expecting one person to be proficient in teaching both art and music is simply not realistic.
Students need and deserve one nurse, one school.
Please move forward with right-sizing and repurposing ASD buildings.
At least one of those sound bites was regarding a proposed cutback on nurses. The speaker said that less schools would allow for nurses to be present at every single one rather than travel. The board said that all proposed consolidations will be available for the public to comment on before or during their next meeting on February 17th. And meanwhile, the Kenai Peninsula Borough School District is also facing major financial pressure. District leaders project an $8 million budget deficit. Officials say changes to the state funding formula and a reduction in the borough's proposed budget are driving the shortfall. The district expects to receive about $7.8 million less from the borough next year. The district is holding a series of public budget meetings starting today, the 10th, at Homer High School, then February 17th at Kenai Central High School, and also on February 18th at Seward High School. All meetings begin at 6 p.m. At the state capitol, following up on the governor's $1.1 billion emergency fund request to tap state savings. More than $24 million of that comes from a request by the Department of Corrections, their leaders citing things like expensive overtime and even a riot as reasons.
A recent riot at Spring Creek Correctional Center. It's just one thing leaders say are driving up costs at the Department of Corrections.
I'll call it a perfect storm, whether that's staffing levels or vacancy rates that cost us just under $200,000 that we did not plan for, and that was essentially a small riot on the yard.
That $200,000 example, part of the $24 million DOC leaders say they need. It's one piece of the governor's $1.1 billion emergency funding request. Corrections leaders say the money would cover shortfalls from unbudgeted overtime, staff vacancies, and inmate medical costs. But lawmakers say this is not new, calling it a pattern that's been growing for years.
I'm more concerned about how we can control those costs instead of trying to figure out the current system that's being utilized. It seems as though there has to be some cost control measures taken within department.
When we look at all our departments, corrections really sticks out the last couple, 3 years. We got to get control of it one way or the other.
I am willing to have any of these conversations. I don't want to make these decisions because I recognize the impact is far greater.
Lawmakers also questioned why higher paid employees get overtime instead of lower paid staff, leading to this.
If the overtime situation is going to be an ongoing cost, this is seriously bad management.
Possible solutions. Lawmakers discussed closing facilities or sending inmates out of state, but warned both have proven costly. Rebecca Pulsha, Alaska's news source.
The emergency funding request requires a 3/4 vote in both the state House and Senate. Lawmakers said last week they'll likely approve it, but also say the corrections overruns may force cuts to other state departments. We'll keep you updated and link you to the extended coverage, including the latest on a sales tax debate on our website and our mobile app. And Senator Lisa Murkowski is shutting down speculation about a possible run for governor. After months of questions about whether she would return to state office, Murkowski made it clear she's not leaving the U.S. Senate.
But I also feel that the role that I'm playing here in the United States Senate is a particularly important one for our state and for the country. So hard decisions, but you got to pick one, and I am here and going to continue to serve Alaskans here.
Governor Mike Dunleavy is term limited. There are currently at least 16 candidates vying for the office. In Alaska's frozen lakes and rivers are calling, but the conditions can be deadly if you're not careful. Authorities say most people don't know the simple safety checks that could keep them alive. Here's Georgina Fernandez with what you need to know before you head out.
That crisp sound of gliding across the ice.
Over there it's like unshiny, bumpy and stuff, but right here it's clear and soft.
For Alaskans,
Ice is just a little soft, which makes for grippy skates, which I like a lot.
it's what winters are all about. But knowing the conditions beneath you is critical for a safe outing.
If you're going to be going in an unfamiliar area of ice, something that you're not used to recreating on, you might want to stop, take a minute to just make sure it's safe for whatever activity you're going to be going on and doing.
Ice death is a crucial part of that equation.
And if you're out ice skating, you want to have at least 4 inches of thick ice underneath you. But if you're doing other activities like driving a larger vehicle on the ice, you want to have at least 12 inches.
The fact that we can have a fully weighted truck down here on the ice means that it's a pretty safe area to skate.
Alaska state troopers also advise people to keep an eye out for changing conditions.
Here in February, a lot of areas have, good, healthy ice for recreating on it right now. But that can change from day to day or even from spot to spot on that lake or on that river.
Because your awareness and a buddy can make all the difference when you're out on Alaska's icy playground. Georgina Fernandez, Alaska's news source.
The Forestry Resources and Practices Act, or FERPA, is the enabling legislation for the Division of Forestry, and one of the many things they do revolves around water quality and fish habitat here in Alaska. Another is maintaining and balancing lumber trade in Alaska, supplying wood and material to industry while balancing reforest efforts and keeping forested areas as forest. While currently Alaska imports most of its timber from the lower 48, the current administration is wanting to move away from import and to locally sourced. In a forestry meeting happening today, multiple forestry agencies will meet to review FERPA's best management practices and updates on what's happening across the state. We spoke to Jeremy Dowse about this upcoming meeting.
The Wood Energy Development Task Force is something that we haven't heard from in a while, so it'll be interesting to get them back involved in these meetings, and that's always informational and interesting. We get an update from the Forest Service as well, and that's always informative to everybody. We were getting a presentation from Keith Coulter, who's a forester that works out on the Fognac, and he's doing a large project on log stringer bridge replacements, and so that'll be pretty interesting to see.
There is a public comment period that begins at 1 p.m. at the meeting. If you have a comment or want to make a statement, you're welcome to participate. The meeting begins at 8 a.m., should be adjourned by 4 p.m., and takes place online. More information can be found on their website, forestry.alaska.gov. And we are going to be taking a very short break. Stick with us, because when we come back, we're going to be hitting some of those national headlines, such as the latest on Savannah Guthrie's mother's disappearance. We're going to have the latest on Epstein Maxwell, the follow-up on that, what's going on. We're going to learn about what a tainted testimony is. And we're going to have John Thompson speaking with our Emma Wolfhurst on what is going on in the government that you need to know. So please stick with us. We'll have those stories and more coming up. Welcome back in, and thank you so much for sticking with us. The search for Nancy Guthrie has entered its 10th day after a second purported deadline passed on Monday. Today's show host Savannah Guthrie posted a video on Monday saying the family believes their 84-year-old mother is, quote, still out there. Ivan Rodriguez reports from Arizona.
Guthrie's possible abductors demanded $6 million by 5 p.m. yesterday, and that note included a threat to Nancy Guthrie's life. According to CNN affiliate KGUN 9, the FBI says it's not aware of any communication between the Guthrie family and any suspected kidnappers. A second purported deadline has passed in the disappearance of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother. According to a purported ransom note sent to a Tucson TV station, Nancy Guthrie's possible abductors demanded $6 million by 5 p.m. Monday. The note included a threat to Guthrie's life if demands weren't met. Just hours before that deadline passed, Savannah Guthrie posted another video to social media, this time addressing the public instead of her mother's alleged kidnappers.
We believe our mom is still out there. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help.
People seem to have been heeding that call, with the new billboards going up across the country urging anyone with information about the case to call authorities. The FBI releasing a new statement Monday night saying it still has not identified a suspect or person of interest in the case. The agency also appealing to the public, writing in part, quote, someone has that one piece of information that can help us bring Nancy home. Harvey Levin of TMZ, which also received the ransom note, reacting to the statement.
Well, I think it aligns with Savannah Guthrie's desperate plea.
The tone of the videos released by the Guthrie family have varied. Last week, it began with the Guthrie siblings explaining who their mother was, saying that she was a very kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman with goodness and light. And this latest video, as we heard there from Harvey Levin, really mentions how Savannah Guthrie is asking the entire country to keep an eye out. In Catalina Foothills, Arizona, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Ghislaine Maxwell, the co-conspirator of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, says she will answer lawmakers' questions if she gets clemency from President Trump. Maxwell pleaded the Fifth for every question asked by the House Oversight Committee on Monday. Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Lawmakers given their first chance to view unredacted versions of the Jeffrey Epstein files that the Justice Department made public with large chunks blacked out, walking out with more questions.
What I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files.
Republican Thomas Massie then posting questions about 4 redacted names in one document. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche directly responding that the Justice Department had just unredacted all non-victim names in the file Massie referenced, and that the DOJ is committed to transparency. But lawmakers say there are still portions blacked out in what's supposed to be the unredacted files.
And that's because the documents produced to justice from the FBI, from the grand jury, was redacted when they got it.
As they push for full transparency, members of the House Oversight Committee voicing frustration after Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell refused to answer any questions in their deposition.
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Repeatedly pleading the Fifth in a virtual appearance from the Texas prison camp where she's serving her 20-year sex trafficking sentence. Maxwell's lawyers saying she's, quote, prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump, something the president has not definitively ruled out and Epstein's survivors passionately oppose.
Why would that even be entertained in any way?
Lawmakers in both parties have spoken out against clemency for Maxwell. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And the vice president left for Azerbaijan this morning after meeting with Armenia Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. Vance is the first sitting vice president or president to visit Armenia. He's in the region to advance a deal aimed at ending a decades-long conflict with Azerbaijan. During his visit, Vance also visited the Armenian genocide memorial. Vance told reporters gathered on the tarmac that the historic visit was important to the Armenian people.
Part of striking peace is actually the first step, but part of the keeping the peace is what we're doing today, which is building upon it, making sure that we have the economic interdependence between Armenia and Azerbaijan that's necessary to make the peace deal stick.
FBI agents swore by it in courtrooms across America for decades, a type of forensic science called bullet-lead analysis. Used in thousands of cases and hundreds of trials, the FBI discontinued it over flaws in its science. Now at least one man is free as another fights for his freedom. National investigative reporter Chris Nakamoto investigates the tainted testimony.
It was definitely a shock to the whole community.
In 1991, 45-year-old Norma Jean Yates was found inside this home, shot to death 7 times. The house set on fire.
She deserved better than that.
Her death, a defining event in the life of her husband, Jimmy Yates, because 6 years later, a jury convicted him of her murder. It's his first sit-down interview after being released in 2021.
Did you kill your wife?
No. I've maintained it all these years.
Police found a bullet in his vehicle, which they said matched the lead in bullets at the crime scene. That science the jury trusted when it ultimately convicted Yates, no longer used by the FBI. When a weapon is missing or a bullet too damaged, the FBI claimed at the time their science could match bullets to ammunition through the lead alone. Our national investigative team found the FBI admitted to using this science in 2,500 cases, and it was introduced in hundreds of trials across America. But in 2005, the FBI pulled the plug on this practice. Their admission, neither scientists nor bullet manufacturers are able to definitively attest to the significance of an association made between bullets in the course of a bullet-lead examination.
Subjective speculation masquerading as scientific evidence.
Chris Fabricant is one of America's leading experts on forensic science in the criminal justice system and is the director of strategic litigation at the Innocence Project. He calls comparative bullet-lead analysis junk science.
When you think about it, it's kind of like associating a fried egg to the carton of eggs that the egg came from. Number one is that it sounds like science, right? There's a lot of scientific terminology used in all forms of junk science, so it sounds scientific. But what it lacks is an empirical basis.
Our national investigative team found following the FBI's own admission that it was abandoning the use of bullet-lead analysis, it began notifying at least 300 agencies across America that had received lab reports since 1996. Our team uncovered gaps in notifying the convicts. One of those cases is Kermit Parker, a Louisiana man convicted nearly 4 decades ago for the murder of a police officer. In 2008, the FBI sent this letter to the district attorney in Parker's case, saying the testimony exceeds the limits of science and cannot be supported by the FBI. In new court filings, Parker's legal team says they never got that letter or other evidence implicating another suspect who admitted to killing the officer. We requested the number of how many letters, like the one in Parker's case, were sent from the FBI. We asked for expedited processing. It's a request the FBI denied.
Those notices didn't go to the individuals whose cases were affected.
I met him through a mutual friend.
Parker's wife, Marcia, spoke to us outside the gates of Louisiana State Penitentiary, where her husband is incarcerated. They want the state's highest court to intervene.
He did not do that, so it puts a fire under him to fight even harder, and knowing that he has the proof that proves that he didn't do it.
When Parker was accused of killing Sergeant Warren Broussard back in 1988,
I heard a shot, and I turned around. The cop had fallen in the street.
No murder weapon was ever found. Bullet-lead analysis was also brought up at Parker's trial. With new information coming to light, state justices will decide if Parker gets a new hearing.
That way we can be before a judge and we can show them what has been discovered in those hidden DA files.
If you're going to use it in court, then it has to be valid, it has to be reliable. And when it's not, due process requires we go back, we look at these convictions, and we make sure that miscarriages of justice have not occurred.
For Eights, a second miscarriage of justice came in 2011 when he was reconvicted. That conviction was overturned in 2018 because evidence was withheld from his attorneys. A CD of another man's confession.
I believe in God, I believe in forgiveness, and I'm not going to hold a grudge in my heart.
Do you still think about her every day?
I think about her every night.
Eights now lives in Alabama, moving out of Florida after his release from their state prison in 2021. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court in Louisiana could rule sometime this spring in Parker's case. Prosecutors maintain his conviction is valid and it's too late to appeal it. Now, fire departments around the country heavily rely on volunteer firefighters facing danger to protect their neighbors. This week on Listening to America, senior national correspondent Peter Zampa is in Southwest Louisiana, where communities are struggling to find those volunteers.
Volunteer fire service in the U.S. is older than our country is. It's a tradition dating back 290 years, according to the National Volunteer Fire Council. But as the calls keep coming in, the number of volunteers is dwindling drastically. It's particularly a problem here in Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana.
Chief Todd Parker started as a volunteer in the 90s when he was 18. He says there were almost 60 volunteers then.
Today, we have 16 volunteers, and we're running 4 times as many calls.
We were there when it was at 100 acres. Sure.
2 of those 16, Tim Moses and Carly McDaniel. Tim, a volunteer for 30 years. Carly started volunteering 4 years ago when she was 17.
I like to take my shoes off, put my bunker pants on. A lot of people don't like to volunteer for anything. 2, they don't realize how amazing it is.
Communities relying on selflessness from people like you. Does that sound sustainable?
The numbers might get kind of low, and I think, well, is there anybody still out there that has that volunteer spirit about them? And the next thing you know, young people show up.
But Chief Parker sees a crisis. Enthusiasm to join is dampened by full-time jobs with little flexibility and the expectation to devote your time and life for no pay.
How have you noticed outcomes changing with the dwindling volunteer service?
We may have to respond to those emergencies with 2 or 3 fire departments. You look at the traditional residential structure fire for all of the things that you have to perform and the minimum requirements of personnel that you need. It's a struggle for a volunteer department to end up having enough personnel.
Parker's hoping making people aware of the shortage can lead to change. According to the National Volunteer Fire Council, of the nearly 30,000 fire departments nationwide, nearly 19,000 are all volunteer, and more than 5,000 mostly volunteer.
We could see some flames starting to lick over the door from our garage.
A faulty freezer set Scott Kyle's garage on fire in 2019. He says the department responded quickly and saved his house. But this was before a serious nationwide shortage hit in 2020.
If there's no, volunteers to go, your insurance ratings are going to go up. There's a whole lot of negative sides to these.
Beyond raising awareness, Chief Parker is hoping to recruit with travel stipends, food, and training.
I think there'll be more like her out there.
You're so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone's got to keep it up.
Even as we evolve and find new ways to respond to disasters, the need for real people, including volunteers, is not going away. And if this volunteer shortage continues, communities everywhere will face an alarming reality. Simply hoping that those who continue to serve will answer calls quickly and effectively. I'm Peter Zampa, Listening to America.
now here we have John Thompson, our very own, who's going to be speaking to Emma Wolfers, our Washington correspondent, about what is going on in Washington that you need to know about.
Well, in his continued push to lower prescription drug prices, President Donald Trump is launching his Trump RX website. Alaska's news source Washington correspondent Emma Wolfers joining us now from D.C. Emma, what are the details of TrumpRx.gov?
John, the president announced this Thursday, and he was joined by Dr. Oz, Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator, as well as HHS Secretary RFK Jr. The president says this website will offer discounted prescription prices through special agreements his administration has made with 16 drug companies, including really big names like Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Eli Lilly. The new government portal is set up sort of as a facilitator. So as you scroll through the website and look at different medications, it points customers to drug makers' direct-to-consumer websites to make their purchases, or provides a downloadable coupon to be used at pharmacies. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said this was, quote, a historic announcement that will impact millions of Americans, end quote. The administration launched the website Thursday with 40 medications, and they say they plan to introduce more in the coming months.
Well, Democrats on Capitol Hill are demanding reform for immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, ahead of another funding showdown next week. What are the Democrats asking for, Emma?
John, Democrats in the Senate and House laid out 10 demands Thursday, including big ones they've been talking about since the start of this funding debate, including banning face masks, mandating judicial warrants for entering private property, and requiring agents wear body cameras. Democrats are threatening to block Department of Homeland Security funding next Friday if they don't see what they call dramatic changes and real accountability for ICE. However, most of these reforms are just non-starters for Republicans. And now House GOP lawmakers are demanding some of their own priorities be included next week in the DHS spending bill, like restrictions on sanctuary cities. As we've been talking about, the deadline is next Friday, February 13th. If lawmakers don't have a deal worked out in a week, it's not just ICE that runs out of money. DHS also includes TSA agents, FEMA, and the Coast Guard. There is an idea floating around Capitol Hill of potentially passing what's called a continuing resolution, a CR, for just TSA, FEMA, and Coast Guard. ICE has its funding stream from the Trump tax bill previously passed, so it would actually continue to operate even if funding lapsed next Friday. Senate Majority Leader John Thune also said he's thinking about proposing another stopgap funding bill for DHS next week to give lawmakers more time to negotiate. That bill could potentially fund DHS for the rest of the year.
Thank you, Emma. And finally, U.S. and Iranian officials are set to meet. What can we expect from that meeting?
Yeah, John, these nuclear talks between Iran and the United States are taking place in Oman today. They were originally going to be held in Turkey. It's not just the location that has changed. The topics have also been adjusted. Discussions were supposed to be centered on issues like Iran's ballistic missile program and other concerns. But Wednesday, a regional official in Iran said the country was seeking a different type of meeting focused exclusively on the issue of Iran's nuclear program. Now, tensions have been high, and President Trump really wasn't toning it down at all. He issued Iran's supreme leader a warning ahead of today's talks. He said in an interview with NBC News, quote, "I would say he should be very worried," end quote.
Alaska's news source, Washington correspondent Emma Wolfers joining us from D.C. Thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you.
And now we're going to take a very short break. Stick with us, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about lowering high interest rates, how to handle that debt and how to lower those interest rates. We're going to be talking about phone battery lives and what that looks like, what's going on there. And we're going to talk about some new flavors from Takis that you might be excited to hear about. I know I am. So stick with us. We'll have those stories and more when we get back. Welcome back in, and thank you so much for sticking with us. A lot of people racked up credit card debt over the holidays, and those bills are finally starting to come in. Now, in this Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa looks at ways you can get started tackling that high interest debt.
If you have high interest debt, I'm talking about credit cards, look for ways to lower the amount of interest you are paying. Sarah Rathner, a personal finance expert with NerdWallet, says you could save hundreds of dollars a year just by making a few changes. It starts with taking some time to shop around. She says you could look for a balance transfer credit card that has a 0% interest promotion.
We see these for a pretty long period of time, sometimes a year or more, and that can save you hundreds of dollars on interest while you pay down the loan. But you want to make sure that you're timing your payments so that ideally you pay off the loan in full by the time that no interest promotion is over, so you don't begin to owe interest on the remaining debt.
If that's not an option for you because of your credit or you don't want to take out another credit card, Rathner says you could also look into a personal loan.
And depending on what you qualify for, this could save you money because it might charge a substantially lower interest rate than your credit cards are charging. And it's a fixed monthly payment for a set period of time. So it's much easier to budget for than a variable credit card payment that changes every month.
You could also call up your credit card company and ask for a lower interest rate. It helps if you've never missed a payment. And as with anything, it never hurts to ask. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
And Takis are taking over snack aisles this spring, releasing a next level flavor attack with a drop of 6 all-new Takis rolled flavors, hitting shelves beginning February 9th yesterday. The lineup of 6 new flavors gives snackers more ways than ever to experience Takis' signature intensity, spanning the entire heatometer from 0 heat to hot. Built around Takis' new all-intense, not all spicy campaign, the flavor lineup includes extreme lime, smoke and barbecue, jalapeno, pickle punch, crazy buffalo, and hot honey. The spring 2026 launch includes flavors spanning from 0 heat to all the way to hot. And Takis says the new flavors are made without artificial colors, and they are available in 3.25 ounces and 9.9 ounce sizes. Well, I'm very excited about the extreme lime flavor. I am a huge lime and chip girly, so excited to try that. And also interested in the pickle punch. The pickle punch flavor that they were talking about. Well, National Retail Federation expects Americans will spend $29 billion this Valentine's Day. That's a record amount. According to the NRF's annual survey, shoppers are budgeting nearly $200 for gifts. That includes gifts for romantic partners, family members, children's classmates and teachers, co-workers and pets. Candy remains the most popular Valentine's Day gift, followed by flowers, cards, a night out, and some jewelry. Now, your cell phone may be smart, but is it strong enough to last all day? Even with newer designs and better cameras, battery life hasn't changed much in the last few years. Evan Moon looks at a new study on the best phones for battery life and how to conserve power.
It's the modern day panic signal, that tiny red bar telling you your phone is running on fumes.
I won't be surprised if I keep this phone another year or two or a couple months if it just starts dying out of nowhere.
As Americans scroll, search, stream, talk, and text, most may find their battery barely lasts a day on a single charge.
Throughout the day, it'll get flat pretty quickly.
The battery would just completely die. Like, I couldn't even go through a full day of school without it just like dying before I got home.
The problem is not new.
Batteries technology has basically been the same for about a decade or more.
CNET recently put 35 phones to the test. Managing editor Patrick Holland says one clearly outlasted the rest.
For battery life is the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and full disclosure, it is also the most expensive phone on our list, starting at just under $1,200.
Second place went to an underdog brand.
The OnePlus 15 Now, some people may have heard of this brand.
Rounding out the top 5, their research found Motorola also had a few models worth buying. Holland says in the last year, smartphone life has improved due to the use of silicon inside batteries, but only slightly.
In 2025, brand new phones did have longer battery life than those that were made in 2024, but it was less than 1%.
What should or shouldn't you do to conserve battery?
I mean, the first thing you could always do is just have a battery, like an extra battery pack. Turn off your always-on display. That takes up some extra power. You can dim the brightness of your screen. You can also look if you can get on Wi-Fi.
Holland says companies including Apple, Google, and Samsung promise up to 7 years of phone software support. So if you start to see bad battery life before then, take it to the store. You can just replace a battery instead of the whole phone. Evan Moon, CBS News, New York.
And we'll be right back after this short break. Stick with us. When we come back, we'll be talking about caffeine and dementia, and we'll have some stories about America's 250th. So stick with us. Welcome back, Aiden. Thank you so much for sticking with us. For the first time in nearly 5 decades, students across San Francisco stayed home as teachers walked off the job. Nearly 48,000 students missed class Monday after educators and the San Francisco Unified School District failed to reach a contract agreement. Both sides say progress has been made, but wages and health care benefits remain the biggest sticking points. The union is seeking 4.5% raises in each of the next 2 years, while the district is now offering 3% annually over that same period. Health care is also unresolved, with union leaders pushing for full independent coverage. The superintendent said the district faces budget constraints and remains under state oversight.
An agreement that increases salary. We want to put forward an agreement that increases salaries but do not cut critical resources for students.
Talks were set to resume Monday afternoon. Families will be notified daily if schools will remain closed. And that daily cup of coffee is doing more than giving you a jolt. It could be protecting your brain from dementia. New research shows that drinking caffeinated coffee or tea daily is associated with better long-term cognitive health. According to the study published Monday in JAMA, those who enjoyed 2 to 3 cups of coffee or 1 to 2 cups of tea a day saw the biggest impact, with midlife coffee drinkers seeing about an 18% lower chance of developing dementia later in life and 14% of tea drinkers seeing a lower risk. Researchers did not see the same benefits in people who chose decaffeinated options. A study was done by researchers at a Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health Medical School in Boston. And a decade before the U.S. Constitution, lawmakers in Virginia met in pubs hatching out a plan to form the United States. As we celebrate America's 250th birthday, Alaska's News Source's Washington correspondent Brendan Cullerton shares how meetings in colonial Williamsburg shaped the country that we see today.
You may have heard America is about as divided and polarized as ever. But historians here in colonial Williamsburg say that's exactly how our founding fathers were. And they still took the ideas formed right here to form the United States.
Birthplace of American liberty.
Richard Schumann has been a historical interpreter of Patrick Henry for 30 years in colonial Williamsburg. He educates visitors on how founding fathers like Henry operated.
Here in the Raleigh Tavern, where I could make the argument that the American experiment got started.
James Madison interpreter Brian Austin says it all started when English leaders dissolved the House of Burgesses, a local government that had begun speaking out against the crown.
House of Burgesses gets dissolved. They do what countless men in history do when they're out of a job. They go to the bar. They pick the Apollo Room because it's big enough to hold the assembly. And from this tavern, the call for the Continental Congress happened.
In addition to hatching issues like protesting British taxes and convening a Congress, the Founding Fathers also debated what they wanted their society to look like.
And they're the headlines that we're reading today. We're still wrestling over the question of church and state. We're still wrestling over the question of gun control. We're still wrestling over women's rights.
And often, the founders disagreed on those issues.
A misconception a lot of people come is that somehow the framers, the founders, were all of one mind, that there was this unity of opinion, when in fact, the founding of America is a divisive, contentious, bloody thing.
Historic interpreters say America is divided today, but it was also divided then. And ultimately, enough differences were put aside to form the country.
The thing I like to impart as Patrick Henry is that we can get through this. We've done it before.
We're going to come back from another very short break, our last one of this morning. And when we come back, we're going to continue talking about America's 250th birthday that's coming up soon. We're going to be sharing stories, or a story that from a town called Iola. I think it's Iola. But we'll be sharing a story from that little town and how it has an important piece of history there. So stick with us. We'll also be talking about a Valentine's Day party that's coming up for you and your pets. So stick with us. We'll have those stories and more. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us. Leading up to the celebration of America's 250th birthday, we're sharing stories from around the country that celebrate the people and places that have helped make the U.S. what it is today. For the town of Iola, ski jumping has always been a part of the community's history. Braden Dobby visited the Iola Carnival's ski jump competition to learn more about its place in the town's heritage.
You may have heard
the Iola area has a rich history in Norwegian culture, with the town's Nordic ski jump dating back to the early 1900s. The Iola Winter Carnival's ski jump competition is a big draw for many, as the town is well known for its winter recreation.
Not too many things that are 100 years old, and to have the ski jumping tradition continuing on into the 21st century, I thought was pretty impressive.
The town's winter carnival keeps many Norwegian traditions alive, like a lutefisk fish dinner and ice carving competition. Teaching the area's kids about the sport of ski jumping is just as important. The Iola Winter Sports Club is home to one of the few 60-meter ski jumps left in the state of Wisconsin, a unique experience they can't find many other places.
The more we can try to attract little kids and parents to come out here and witness it, like on a weekend like this, it helps a lot.
The 60-meter jump isn't always available to skiers, as years with less snow make the jump dangerous to attempt. It's the first time in years the jump is open, and interest is at an all-time high, with the Olympics going on simultaneously.
Most people that see that on TV, they see people ski jumping, they go, holy cow, you know, they just can't even imagine, but it's right here in their backyard. This is where it all begins.
You can watch it on TV, but to actually come out and see it and see how the jumping goes and clap, see who wins, it's a lot of fun.
Skiers as young as 6 competed on the competition's smaller jumps. Although a few kids took a tumble, Riccio says ski jumping is a safer sport than most think. The falls are what build confidence in the young skiers and create memories as they continue to improve their craft.
It's just, I think, part of the area. It's always going to be, as far as I'm concerned, to try to keep this part of the heritage going.
Skiing has been such a big part of Iola's community that a historical marker has been placed at the Jumps Chalet. In Iola, Braden Dobie, News Channel 7.
PetSmart is announcing Valentine's Day events across their stores nationwide. They're offering treats, photo ops, and decorating cards. According to PetSmart, you can stop by any location on Valentine's Day from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. to enjoy sweet treats, photos, and positively adorable Valentine's Day paw print cards. Pets are invited to dress their best for swoon-worthy photos with festive props and a backdrop, available for self-capture with the help of PetSmart associates. And while supplies last, a $5 treat for pet parents is available based on availability with a $5 coupon card by the time you arrive to the party. And now finally, when Bad Bunny walked into the stage at the big game, 150 million people were watching, but they weren't just watching the megastar. They were watching an Alaskan make history. Jace Bertrand spoke with her to find out how a girl from Fairbanks ended up on one of the exclusive moments in sports.
Sunday's big game delivered all the emotions. Smiles for Seahawks fans, tears for the Pats, but there was one moment that had all Alaskans on the same page. Violinist Rose Crelly took to the gridiron for the halftime show. She says her journey began as an orphan in China, raised in Fairbanks.
I've always loved camping and hiking and canoeing, and Alaska has always had a special place for me.
Surrounded by Alaska's wild beauty, the 30-year-old drew inspiration from something equally as powerful: music.
I grew up hearing the violin around the house, and I was a very competitive little sister, and I wanted to do everything my big brother was doing.
Encouraged by her brother and auntie, Crelly pursued violin through her time at UAF, establishing a career with the San Francisco Conservatory. It's a road that would lead to a massive stage.
I'm the kind of person who doesn't really believe it's happening until, you know, I've been in rehearsals, or, you know, something has been signed.
On Sunday, Crelly found herself playing violin next to world phenom Bad Bunny on the screens of over 150 million Americans.
It's so surreal because I was prepared to have zero screen time. You know, I was just happy to be there and to have those memories. And the fact that I think I get like 5 seconds is honestly overwhelming. I'm very pleasantly surprised.
In the hour since, messages from loved ones have poured in.
It's been so amazing seeing everyone who's been tagging me in their posts and commenting and sharing. I'm happy to be able to represent all these different communities in the Super Bowl.
Proud to represent Asian Americans and Alaskans, Crelly says she plans to continue performing and sharing her unique experiences with the world. Jace Bertrand, Alaska's news source.
And that wraps up the Morning Edition Extra for this Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for starting off your day with Alaska's news source and for watching the Morning Edition Extra. Stay tuned for your news at noon for the latest in news, weather, and more. Have a good day.